Good morning. My name is Taylor. I'm here with HACK&Co at Remax River City. And man, it's been an interesting time in real estate. All eyes seem to be on real estate. It's been like this for years. But now the stories are changing. We're seeing a whole bunch of news being released that property is going down in value, that there's these major impacts from inflation. And we got some questions about that. I'm going to bring the team in and we're going to decode this a little bit because I don't think that we're having the same experience that we normally are seeing in the news. Let me introduce you. With us today, we have Craig Bentley. Good to see you, Craig. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I hope you're doing well also.
Yes, actually, it's a good day. This season is something that you and I are both fans of, right? I see you got your flannel on.
I'm ready. Cooler weather is here. Luckily, I'm pale. Sun doesn't do me well, so I'm getting ready for these early nights to start coming in.
And Amy, what kind of show is this? We got Amy Brown here with us. It's like three balds and a blonde.
Yeah, you got to add some spice. That's me.
That's great. And I agree. Yeah. Tony, what spice would you be?
I'm not sure.
Good to see you this morning. Just put you on the spot for fun here.
Yeah.
How's your morning kicking off?
It's been good. Yeah, lots of exciting things on the go today.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, couple possessions. It's going to be good.
Couple possessions. So people are still buying houses then?
Yeah, just a couple.
Yeah, I would say so too. This doesn't seem to be like what the world is talking about though right now, right? Like, what's the world talking about right now? If we were to turn in the news and basically search for anything that was real estate related, what do you think we'd see?
The sky is falling.
The sky is falling. Yeah,
the market is crashing.
Crashing is a big thing. You know, in some of our marketing, we've been hesitant to use fall market because of market falling like association. It just seems to be like everywhere. And how do you guys feel about that? Like, obviously, you guys are all starving. Nobody is selling any real estate. It's just, it's over, right?
Absolutely not.
No, you've had a great month this month. How's everything been for you, Amy?
It's been great. This month's theme is multiples, multiples, multiples.
Okay, wait a second. Where are you seeing multiples?
I'm seeing a ton in Sherwood Park. That's definitely absolutely everything that I've been involved in has been multiples in Sherwood Park this month, as well as really well-priced acreages.
Interesting. So in a couple of different places, and you've been in there with buyers as well as sellers.
Correct, yes.
Who else is seeing multiple offers? Okay, tell me more.
From my experience here, anything between 400 and about 550,000 for my clients has been extremely hot. I've had a listing that had multiple offers within the first opening weekend there, 4 offers that came on in, as well as helping buyers. Same thing, even backup offers are getting multiple offers. So you're not only competing on your original offer, if you're trying to get in for a backup, you're competing there as well.
Nobody does that, Craig. You're telling me there's people out there that are like, this is already pending and somebody wants to fight me for the backup position. Let's go.
It's happening more frequently than most people would think.
Amy, why do people do that?
Why do people do multiple offers?
On a backup offer, like what are your chances?
I think that multiple offers on a backup offer aren't actually that rare. I've been in them a couple of times. I think that getting in on the backup is really, really smart. And just to let you know, even when it's not multiple offers, I even had one in Sherwood Park where we said, hey, we would like to give you a backup offer. We're coming in at full price. And the realtor said, just to let you know, you're going to be countered because this home sold with multiple offers well above listing price. And I just couldn't believe it.
Wow. And didn't you win from a backup position?
Yeah, on an acreage. Actually, we were in multiples. We lost. And then we went into multiples as the backup. The first people weren't able to remove their conditions and we were able to pick it up. So we were really, really glad that we went into that backup situation, even though it was still in multiples for the backup.
So this type of conversation is regular in our office. But
yes,
these would be considered pretty advanced strategies. A lot of people think that when a property is pending, it's all over. You can't usurp the front offer. You can't take over. You can't buy them out of their agreement that they're in right now, but you can certainly sew them in. And when we're talking about the virtue of a backup offer, what it means is that right now, let's say that they have a condition date of 9 p.m. this Friday. You write a backup offer that means at 9:01, it's ours. It doesn't matter if they just need a 1-day extension for an appraisal. If they're not going to remove all their conditions, we're in. Right? So you actually put pressure on that front offer. And it's something that we do on both of our, both with purchasers. We know how to win from that position and make sure it's forced and not accept things like seller's conditions for a backup offer. I've had somebody recently talk to us about doing that. Big smiles from Craig. And yeah, you don't want to be an opt-in backup offer. You want to be a guaranteed backup offer. So that's just awesome. Well, let's turn our attention to the stats here. One of the most common questions that we see in real estate is it a buyer's market or a seller's market? And right now, Anthony, buyer or seller's market?
It's a buyer's market right now. Just leaning towards that.
Isn't that funny how like we're all talking about market, we're all talking about multiple offers and it's technically a buyer's market? Amy, can you explain that a little bit? Tell us about months of inventory.
Okay, so first of all, months of inventory is how much inventory is on the market. And if we were to not bring another single house onto the market, how fast could we burn through it? Right now, we're sitting at 4.3 months, which is pretty normal for this time of year. When we look month over month and we compare year over year, we're at that same trajectory as we usually are during this time of year. And we're only about 15 days more inventory this year than we were last year, which was an incredible seller's market.
So there's got to be some, like, in order for it to be such a seller's advantage, it's getting multiples on some things. It also it has to be an equal buyer advantage somewhere else in the marketplace. If it's so hot in some places, what do you guys feel is cold right now?
Condos, as always, we've talked about it slowly defrosting here, but we're seeing more inventory hitting the market, as well as days on market are starting to creep up in that condo field.
I kind of wonder if it's because people sense it's thawing that more people are trying right now, right? And I'm also wondering if a lot of that market isn't going to sell, but it's still going to leave the market as rentals. Like the rental demand here right now is also something that we're seeing on the technical side. Like on the back end of our website, there's so many people looking for rentals that they're even coming into websites that are obviously for houses for sale. So this is something that we're seeing a twist in. Really, vacancy is going down. Rents are very likely going to be going up. And that's all tied into this. So that's an interesting perspective, Amy. You're saying that there's a natural move this time of year. We're pretty close to on the same level as the last year.
Yeah, we are. We're very, very close. And this is the exact same projection that we saw last year, where in May, it's the lowest, and then June, July, August, it just starts going up a little bit.
And for those people that are like 4 and 5 years out of buying your last property and kind of thinking about buying your next property, it is actually a technically better market than it was then, right? During the fall of oil from 15 to 20, our market was more challenged than it is now. And I know that interest rates have gone up by comparison, but they're actually like pretty similar to when I was lending, when I was doing mortgages back in like 2008. And people were not there was lots of houses selling. In fact, 2007, 2006, the times that we consider the boom, interest rates were right around where they are now. So when we're talking about months of inventory kind of dictating the buyer and the seller market and different places that are hot and cold, is that stuff that's showing up in the average price, Tony?
Yeah, we can definitely see how things are trending right now. Like the average price would show you kind of what the market's appetite is for the average home. And so the average price for a single family property is just below that 470 mark. So 470,000 is the average price for August. And when we look at what happened last year, the average price was at 460. So even though you're hearing things about the market cooling off, the average house is still worth more than it was last year, even at the peak of last year. So, month over month, it might be slightly down. We're talking like, 3 to 4, 5,000 overall, but that's still a pretty good price, because I remember a time when the average price was like sub 400, and we were telling people they couldn't move because they didn't have enough equity saved up. And now lots of families are making this, great decisions to upgrade. So when we look at total residential overall, it's still up month over month, even compared to last year. And the average condo price right now is 227. The average duplex or row house would be 355. Still pretty strong numbers month over month.
And for all those people that are considering coming to Edmonton or investing in Edmonton, that has to sound ridiculous to them, because in other parts of the country, you can't get anywhere near a condo for that type of money. And really what we're seeing right now is that these rentals are cash flowing in many cases. And with interest rates going up, that's probably going to continue. So interesting when you take a look at the average rent in a place like Vancouver is like $2,300 a month or something like that. The perspective here is you could just move here and buy something great, and you might even be able to keep your job in Vancouver and just work remotely.
True.
So when this translates, like we talked about the money, but I think that when most people are considering selling, they want to know, how much am I going to be able to sell for, as well as how long is this going to take? Craig, how long is it going to take?
Well, just depends on what type of property you're looking to sell here. So for total residential for the month of August, 42 days is how long it is taking from the start of your listing all the way till a firm sale. So single family homes take right around 37 days. Same with townhouses and duplexes. And that condo market that we were talking about, they definitely take a little bit longer at 54 days. So month over month, it is a couple more days on market as we expect. And year over year, like Amy and Tony were both saying, we're right on par. This is very common for the month of August.
And 21 was a great year for real estate. So far, 22 is doing really well. It's kind of weird being this little population in this larger country that seems to be totally bucking the trend, but it's so nice to be the bright little spot in the darkness. So when you're taking a look at time on market, teammates for your listings, like Craig, you had a listing going to multiples. Did that make it to 42 days on market?
No, not even half.
Yeah, and Amy, these hot properties that you're talking about, are any of those ones at like 6 weeks on the market?
Absolutely not. No.
No. So what's happening to the good ones? That well-priced. Yeah, they're showing up. So what we're seeing with these average days on market is this is the average strategy. Most people overlist their property. There's not enough research. They don't have a great plan. There isn't the same marketing drive behind it. And all of a sudden you end up making some price adjustments and being on the market for a little bit longer, right? You have to find the market. And we really want to make sure that everybody knows about you so that you can solve, right? But when we actually can see, we have enough comparable properties to show you where the market is in relation. And if that's a price that you can accept, this is going to turn out a different way. And especially in those spots we were talking about, like Sherwood Park right now, man, anything from 5 to 700, holy wow. It's like my last two listings were both multiple offers with extremely excited sellers. And so I think that that's also something people should be looking at, is Sherwood Park. The demand is calling for supply there. If you're thinking about going, you're probably going to get a pretty friendly reception when you list. So let's talk a little bit about sales to new listing ratio. What this ratio actually means is if you take the number that were brought to the market this month and the number that were sold, what's their relativity? Like, what's the flow rate of the market? And really, for total residential, the number was about 57%. So it was really like almost 6 out of 10. So if 10 were listed, 6 were also leaving the market in that same month. And really, when we take a look at what our teammates were talking about previously, they were saying that this is on par for last year in most of our statistics. When we see 21 to 22, we do see a little bit of variance here. There is some more inventory coming onto the market and a few less sales. And that means that last year we were at 66%, or almost 7 listings sold for every 10 that were listed. And here we're very much closer to that 6 out of 10 as by comparison. And that's kind of the same thing for the last 3 months. We would say that the market's just slightly softer than it was overall for a number of listings coming to the market and leaving. But honestly, that is very specific to the property type. Like duplexes are still crushing it, and condos are probably the lagging factor there. So with the market as fragmented as it is, how are you guys dealing with that? Like, you have to have some buyers that are a little bit confused. A property that's hot and a property that's not could be neighbors in this market. How do you keep people from overpaying?
Well, just with the research that we do, like we can tell, a lot about specific properties in certain neighborhoods, about, what recently sold that might be similar to this, if there's other interest in the property and how long it's been listed for. And something that a lot of people can't see is the history. Has this property been listed for, 9 months every year for the last 5 years? Could be a good indication that, maybe they're a bit unreasonable to work with, or that they're asking too much for the type of house that they have. So I feel like we do a ton of research to help them determine what their safe number to purchase that property would be.
That's interesting that you talked to me about that. Like, let's unpack that for a second. When somebody says they want to buy a house, you don't pull out your laptop and write up the offer?
Definitely not. Anybody can do that. That's not what we do.
What are the steps?
Well, we usually first, start by inquiring to see if the property's, still available, and we pull title. We do comparables, and we look at what's recently sold in the same area for a similar home. We dig in to see if we can find out any information about the sellers. Like, we dive really deep, and we ask questions from the seller's agent to find out if there's anything we need to know. So that way we can put our best foot forward, knowing all the information we need. And we're not having to reveal what we'd be willing to pay without all the information.
Okay, I want to dig into that for a second. Amy, do you ever get offers sent to you where there's just nothing, like it's just an emailed offer? There was no conversation before that?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's so frustrating.
It's frustrating for me. Sometimes I'll get a text from another realtor saying, "Are your clients fairly negotiable?" And it's like, I think I'm just going to give you everything.
Tell me more about fairly.
Yeah, let me know what you mean. I usually reply and say, if you send something with some great comparables, we'll take a look at it.
That's a good response. And when we're talking about safe number, Craig, what do you consider to be a safe number?
Again, that really well depends on the property. You have to see what's been selling within the area. And it's essentially, if we help somebody purchase a property and the very next day they wanted to sell, that safe number is what we're confident in selling it for the very next day. That's how we like to explain it.
Man, I remember when we ran into that circumstance a little bit. It was actually you and I. So you helped a family buy a property in St. Albert. And we just we laid into it. And we did really well on that purchase. And then unfortunately, that family had a family change. Part of real estate is people that get divorced, but it's not always a terrible story. So they came back and listed that property. Craig was off selling real estate in Ontario, and then I ended up listing that place. And we sold it for more the year after they bought it with no changes as the market was going down. And that's really good business. In fact, we were cash neutral on the sale based on the distance between the sale and a purchase in a market that was sliding. So that was really exciting. And that shows these systems at work. That's really what we always want to deliver. We want safe numbers to be safe. We want these clients to make sure that they're making good investments.
Especially with the way the market's been, we've all helped people recently and told them, hey, it's day 0 on this property and your safe number is list price. Right? With this type of property and the interest that we've seen, you could be spending more if it went into multiples, and we might be able to avoid that if we're lucky.
Wait a second. I think you and I were talking about this just the other day. Didn't you just do something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. In St. Albert, we had buyers that, we've been lucky to work with in the past. And they were pretty set on making a change and knew exactly the type of property they were looking for. And it had to be in a specific area. And we were able to be there on day 0 for a brand new listing and write an offer. And they're getting ready to move into it in just a couple of weeks. So we avoided multiple offers on a property
that off the market on opening day.
Mm-hmm.
And then didn't you talk to the realtor like later that weekend?
Yeah, like 2 days later, she's like, "Oh man, my sellers are a little nervous now because, her phone's blowing up with people that wanted to get into the property and they're not allowing showings." So yeah, it was pretty awesome to just, work through that. And I think that those sellers might have felt nervous because they really wanted to move. And we were there with a great offer and we gave them what they were looking for and away we went.
So now you got some clients moving in that are just walking into equity because other people had already paid more than they did.
Yeah. And when we were looking at comparables, we told them based on the other properties like this recently, they all went in multiple offers and sold for, some even 80,000 over list price. So the deal that they got was they avoided multiple offers and they got their dream neighborhood that they were really hoping to be in.
That's great to hear. Now, overall inventory looks like we are just under 8,000 properties on the market right now, right? I know that this number has been sliding a little bit. We were over 8,000 in June and July. Now we're just under 8,000. It feels like the market is taking a breath, like a big inhale. I know that this week we saw the announcement that rates are going to go up. Like, what do you guys see in the next few weeks in Edmonton?
I see that there'll be buyers that are interested because they've got their pre-approvals locked in. And now that their kids are back to school, they're probably going to be, dialing into their search and really trying to find their next home before rates change again. And we probably will see some families that might get pushed out because, rates are scary to them. But I feel like with great information, like talking to them about how these rates are actually pretty similar to what they were before the pandemic. Right. And the news can be scary, but it doesn't really impact us here because it's so affordable. We're helping people make great decisions. So it's all about how information relates to your situation.
I'd agree. What do you think, Amy?
I think that there's going to be a little bit of a frenzy because people that have rate holds already should be finding something. I mean, if you've been in the market and you went ahead and got that rate hold and you were nice and responsible, you may as well take advantage of the opportunity that you have right now.
I totally agree. And over the next few weeks in Edmonton, Craig?
Well, just as everyone's mentioning, we've got a few buyers that are on the clock that want to make a purchase, families who want to move before the winter, and something we've been talking about for months. All these families moving from other provinces, they are just as motivated to buy real estate here as you are.
That's a really good point. I can't wait for the later this month, we're going to be talking about the immigration numbers. And man, are there a lot of people moving here. Who has been working with out-of-town buyers in the last 30 days? And they're coming from everywhere. Right? Like I put up polls in like the Realtors Association of Edmonton and a couple of the realtor groups, and we're seeing like Ottawa, Niagara, Peterborough, Ontario, Greater Toronto area, Greater Vancouver area. People are coming back from Kelowna. Who thought that would happen? It's pretty wild when you see all the migration numbers. If you were to break it down to some classes, like let's say that we're talking to some groups. Does anybody have some great advice for people that are in that almost first-time home buyer position? Like in the next 90 days, you might reach that savings point, or your lease is coming up, and you're considering buying a place. What would you want to tell that group? Should they be participating in this market?
Absolutely.
Why?
I mean, I think it's always smart to enter the market. If you have not been on the market before and you've been paying somebody else's mortgage, you're always better off to be getting in your own, building equity, putting money in that piggy bank.
So you're saying you're in the market whether you think so or not?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, shelter from that is your parents' house.
Which, come on.
Yeah, And that's what I would see too, is, you know, a lot of people are really worried about these interest rates that keep climbing, you know, 5, maybe getting close to 6% at some point. But it's like, hey, if you're renting, you're paying 100% interest. None of that is coming back to you in equity down the road. So we've had a lot of people that are like, oh, we never thought about it like that before, right? They're just worried that, you know, the news is scary. So definitely get some experts on your side, have some conversations with, you know, with your bank specialists or your mortgage brokers. Make sure you find a great agent that can help walk you through the process, and make sure you feel prepared, because you want to make sure you make the right decision. It is a big decision too.
Also, break down your rent. Like if you were baking rent in your kitchen, the ingredients are principal, interest, and profit. Okay? So what rent is made up of is the principal they're paying down on the mortgage and the interest, because there are no landlords that don't want to make money in real estate. So it's going to be more than that. And the bit of more than that is the profit. And so when interest rates rise, that's going to inflate your rent. So even though you might see interest rates going and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to get on this bus, I'm going to wait till it gets down. Well, just know that it's going to come to you in other ways. Now, what about that group that's thinking about upsizing, those families that we deal with pretty regularly? Is this the wrong market for them?
No, I don't think there's a wrong market for anybody that's upgrading in the last couple of years. And we're seeing, you know, usually the best deals are the ones that are further up market, depending on the neighborhood. But just like we were talking about earlier, it's going to be so neighborhood specific that we should really get into it so we can help you plan.
Yeah, when the market is screaming upward, that may not be the best time to upgrade, because you're buying more than you're selling and you're doing it in a seller's market, right? But now it's so much better than it was even 6 months ago. To sell something and go and find something to buy is way easier than it was in March. So those families that are upgrading, if you were a little bit worried because you heard some friends and they kind of sound a little bit frenzied or a little bit stressed earlier this year, just know it's a friendlier market for you upgraders than it was previously. And what about downsizers? Anybody want to talk to downsizers? Is that somebody that should be considering this market?
I'm in a backup position on a home that's for downsizers. So one of those bungalow duplexes. And I think a piece of advice that I would like to share is that there's a lot of baby boomers looking for those right now. So if you are in the market to purchase one of those, you need to be incredibly serious. And you need to come in very, very strongly to win in those situations.
So this is demand calling supply to the market. So I want you to know how you know if this is for you. How you know if this is for you is if you have a house that has less than 3 bedrooms upstairs, this might be for you. If you have a house that you have a bathroom in that you clean more than you use, we're calling to you, okay? Those folks out there that have those 1 and 2 bedroom upstairs bungalows, it could be a 3 bedroom upstairs bungalow, but it's not normally as much so. If you're thinking that you're going to want to go to a lower maintenance lifestyle, or if you need a little bit more care, there is a really welcoming sale market for you right now. There's a bunch of people that are looking to make these types of moves, and if we can find them a spot, they're selling these great acreages, right? This is the same crew. So that means that there'll be a little bit more for everybody. So that's one of the groups that I truly believe also. Pay attention. Other people need to borrow money. You might not to, or you might not need to. You might be established enough that you are mortgage free, but other people out there are affected by the interest rates, and selling now instead of next year may be the better option. Greg, are we missing anybody? Is there anybody else out there, new first-time home buyers, people that are upgrading, downsizers? What about investors? You've done some fix and flip stuff before. How do you think our market is right now for those people that want to go in and upsize or upside a property?
I think there's a lot of great opportunities out there, as we're seeing a few of these homes that are overpriced sitting on the market for well plus 50, 60 days. If they haven't done a price reduction, now's the time to get in there, put in a more reasonable offer than their list price, get it for a good price. And then, hey, if the market continues to rise as we expect next year, it'd be a good time to sell then.
You know what? I have to say that like there's a lot of buyers that are turning their nose up at work right now. So if you're the type of person that wants to do some work, there's some houses that you will like to walk through. And there's some people looking for those things. Like if you walk into a place and it's got those really old oak cabinets and that pink plush carpet, the market in general may not receive that very well. There's not as many people that are handy and will make those changes. And so that type of stuff that is getting is sitting around a little bit longer. All right. Before we close, is there anything else that you would like to talk to our audience about? Outside of the fact that if they're waiting for a phone call from someone else, they should definitely call our fast agent hotline at 780-909-6770. Is there anything else that you guys should want them to know?
For all the Game of Thrones fans out there, winter is coming. Now is the time. The autumn market is here. Jump in now.
Yep. I would also say that there's some action packed. The market feels just like it is outside right now, where there's parts of it that are brisk and there's other parts of it that are just great sunny days. Well, thank you guys all for joining us today. Anthony D'Souza, I understand that your BNI is doing really well, and thank you for joining us. If there's any small businesses looking for more connections, they should definitely get in touch with Anthony here. And Craig, you were calling out to it, but you love those folks that are looking for projects and things like that. That's really your jam, right?
Oh, absolutely. Not only do I just love seeing the potential of a home, just discussing it with people and, hearing all of their thoughts. It's a lot of fun.
And somebody who can definitely lead you through from experience. This is Craig Bentley and Amy Brown. You have been talking to more and more people about approaching the builder market with you. How many builds have you done in your career? Like hundreds?
Absolutely. Hundreds and hundreds. Yes.
And now you're a real estate agent that can take somebody into a show home and tell them what's what?
Yeah, I can read a specification faster and better than anyone I know.
And she knows where the deals are at. So you people who think that you're going to go into a show home and have to deal with the professional trained expert in there alone, I want you to know, bring one of our teammates on your first go. And Amy has done hundreds and hundreds of builds. My name is Taylor. I am the team leader and very proud member of this team. And we are here to save you from 3-star experiences with someone else. This is the highest rated and reviewed real estate team on rankmyagent.com for the entire greater Edmonton area. And it comes from the understanding and skills that you've seen just on this call right here. So thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you have a remarkable day.
See you later.